Hello everyone. Welcome to the last part of the chapter Chemical Bonding and Molecular Structure. In this presentation, which will be the concluding one, I will be discussing molecular orbital theory, MOT, and hydrogen bonding. The molecular orbital theory, called MOT, this explains the formation of molecules by overlapping of the orbitals of atoms, which are making that molecule. For example, if we talk about the formation of H2 molecule, two hydrogen atoms are going to bond with each other and both of them are having one electron each, which is in the 1s orbitals for each atom of hydrogen. So when they combine, the overlap should be such that these two electrons, when the 1s orbital of each hydrogen atom is coming and overlapping with the other orbital which belongs to the other hydrogen atom, then they should have this common space between the two H atoms where there is probability of finding the electron, which is called molecular orbital. Because when I talk about these two separately, one is of one atom and one is of the other atom, these are atomic orbitals. So we make use of the term AO, atomic orbitals for them. And when they are making a molecule, then we say that there is linear combination of these atomic orbitals. What does it mean? The atomic orbitals are overlapping, they are combining. And as we all know that the psi, which is here, we have discussed it earlier, this represents the wave function. This is the wave function. So if I take psi A, suppose two atoms A and B are combining, or you can take HA and HB here. So psi A belongs to A atom and this belongs to atom B. Now if you imagine two waves which are interfering, so the interference may be destructive, it may be constructive. If it is destructive interference, then we will say the bond formation is less likely and we represent it by sigma and pi bonds and sigma anti-bonding, because here 1s and 1s they cannot make pi bond, they'll be making sigma bond only. So if the interference is taken as the destructive one, which is one of the possibilities, so I'll represent it by sigma with asterisk here, that means anti-bonding. So there are less chances of making the molecule because the common area which is between these two atoms which are combining is not having maximum probability of finding those electrons which have to pair. So we represent it like psi A minus psi B. And the other is sigma, that is bonding orbital. So we take this as constructive interference of the two wave functions that we are considering, one for each atom. So it becomes sigma. So the two MOs, molecular orbitals, which are formed by combination of atomic orbitals, two possibilities, bonding and anti-bonding. Here, this is atomic orbital, this is the other atomic orbital, so we will write AOs for them. AO, atomic orbital. Same way, this atomic orbital here. And for these, which are in the middle of the two, we write MOs, molecular orbitals, these. Now, one molecular orbital would be bonding, other would be anti-bonding. I just told you the reason. And together we represent them like this. That psi MO for molecular orbital would be psi A plus minus psi B. It can be any of the two cases. So when we draw the MO diagram, which is very important part of this MO theory, then we have to consider this thing, keep this thing in mind, that whatever is the number of atomic orbitals, same number of molecular orbitals are formed. I have one from here and one from here, two atomic orbitals. So you can see you have these two molecular orbitals. One is bonding, the other is anti-bonding. So when I show it like this, I have to be very careful that the level of bonding MO, molecular orbital, should be lower than the atomic orbitals. As you can see, This is the level of energy. It is representing increasing energy from top to bottom when we move like this. And the level of anti-bonding should be higher than the atomic orbitals, because anti-bonding means the common space between the two atoms is more like a nodal plane. There are very less chances, almost no chances of finding out the electron. So when I take that, it's not going to give stability to the molecule. And something which is having less stability should be having higher energy. So that's the idea. So we show bonding, then exactly in the middle, we show atomic orbitals, AOs, and above that, anti-bonding. So this level that you are showing for the AOs, equal distance above and equal distance below it, roughly. When you draw it, it is actually exactly equal. But when you draw, just keep it in your mind that you have to show it almost equal on both the sides. So this is how we show the molecular orbital diagram for different molecules. Now, qualitatively, the formation of MOs, molecular orbitals, can be understood in terms of constructive or destructive interference, which I have already explained to you. And in the formation of bonding MOs, bonding molecular orbital, the two electron waves of the bonding atoms reinforce each other, and that we call as constructive interference. And in a bonding MO, the electron density is located between the nuclei of the bonded atoms, because of which the repulsion between the nuclei is less. Okay, and electrons placed in a bonding MO, they tend to hold the nuclei together and they stabilize the molecule. Stabilize, that's why they have lower energy in the MO diagram. So bonding MO always possesses lower energy than either of the atomic orbitals, and same can be explained for destructive interference, just the opposite, which gives rise to anti-bonding MOs. So here the most of the electron density is located away from the space between the two nuclei, and there is a nodal plane where the electron density is zero between the two nuclei. Hence, the repulsion between the nuclei is high because there is nothing between them. So, two positive charges are going to repel each other freely. So, the electrons placed in the anti-bonding MOs, they destabilize the molecule. This is because the mutual repulsion of the electrons in this orbital is more than the attraction between the electrons and the nuclei. And there is net increase in energy. So anti-bonding MOs always possess higher energy than the atomic orbitals. And these are the three conditions for LCAO, that is for linear combination of atomic orbitals, which is required to give rise to MOs. The first condition, the combining orbitals, atomic orbitals, must have the same or nearly the same energy. The combining AOs, that is atomic orbitals, must have the same symmetry about the molecular axis. This we have discussed earlier also, that if there is a px and px, they can overlap sideways if pz is the main axis. And if there is px and py, they are perpendicular to each other, so they are not going to combine. And the combining orbitals, atomic orbitals, must overlap to maximum extent, because maximum overlap till whatever extent it is possible, so that it is not giving rise to repulsions finally. That maximum overlap, more the extent of overlap, more will be the strength of the bond. So these are the three conditions for linear combination of atomic orbitals. Now the molecular orbitals of diatomic molecules, because we are going to discuss diatomic molecules here, they are designated as sigma, pi, delta, etc. So basically we will be making use of sigma and pi bonds here, and sigma and pi orbitals, MOs, will be used in making the MO diagram. And if the internuclear axis is taken to be Z, which is mostly done, it can be seen that a linear combination of 2p Z orbitals of two atoms produces sigma bond. So everywhere, wherever you have sigma, you'll be writing 2pz. And for 2px and 2py, because only one sigma is possible, they'll be making pi MOs, pi bonds. So let's start with the first MO diagram. Very interesting. That is for hydrogen molecule. Now, increasing energy level upwards, and you can see that this is 1s1 for one atom of hydrogen. This is for the other atom. So you can simply write AO here, atomic orbital. If you are making use of short forms AO and MO, then at least once somewhere you write what are these AOs and MOs, atomic orbitals and molecular orbital, or you can write the full word here. That's not a problem. But straight away using short forms may lead to confusion for you also and for the others also who are looking at your work. So it's better to clarify, use full forms, avoid short forms. Even if you're using a short form somewhere, then specify on one side somewhere, maybe here, that what are AOs and MOs. Okay. Then you have two electrons, 1s1 and 1s1 of each. Now these two electrons I have to fill in MOs. I'm moving from here to here, increasing energy level. So first I will fill this sigma 1s. So the simple configuration of this molecule, if somebody is asking me what is the molecular uh, orbital configuration, so I will write sigma 1s because this is the designation of a molecular orbital MO. So both the electrons are coming in 1s sigma. So I'll write sigma 1s2. This is the configuration. And this MO diagram helps us to find out two more things. One is about the magnetic behavior of the molecule. If in the MOs, only molecular orbitals you have to see. If in the molecular orbitals, any molecular orbital is having a single electron, it is paramagnetic because every charged particle, if it is moving, and electrons are charged and they keep on moving continuously, so they behave as tiny magnets. So if you have unpaired electron, if its spin is not getting cancelled, even if a single unpaired electron is there, the molecule is paramagnetic. And if there are all paired electrons, I'm repeating, you have to see only the molecular orbitals for that. So I have to see here, I can't see any unpaired electrons, so this is a diamagnetic molecule, it's not paramagnetic. And we can find out the bond order, that if H2 exists, what will be the bond order, how many bonds will be between the two H atoms. For that, the formula is number of electrons in bonding MO minus number of electrons in the anti-bonding MOs divided by 2. So in the bonding you have 2 electrons here, in the anti-bonding you do not have any electrons, so I'm writing 0, divide by 2, 1. That means H2 molecule as a single bond between two hydrogens. This is the complete explanation on the basis of MOT about H2 molecule. Now the next is He2. We all know that helium is a noble gas and He2 is not possible. Still we'll draw the MO diagram and prove from here that the He2 is not possible. The formation of He2 is not possible. So let us see how. And like this, we'll keep on making MO diagrams for all the atoms in order. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron. They are molecules basically. Homonuclear diatomic molecules we are considering as per our syllabus. So this is He2. Same way, you will show 1s2 here for one helium atom, and this is 1s2 for the other helium atom. These are AOs, atomic orbitals, this and this, and this is showing MOs. So I can see sigma 1s, sigma 1s anti-bonding, and we have total 4 electrons, 2 here and 2 here. So 2 I will be filling in sigma 1s and 2 in sigma 1s anti-bonding. So configuration, molecular configuration would be sigma 1s2, sigma anti-bonding 1s2. And I cannot see if He2 is formed under any conditions. It will not be having paramagnetic behavior. It will be diamagnetic because I cannot see even a single electron which is unpaired. All are paired. Now the bond order. Bond order, when we calculate, we write a formula. Number of electrons in bonding MOs, I can see 2 electrons in sigma 1s, minus number of electrons in the anti-bonding, again 2, and divided by 2. This is the formula. So you can see the answer is going to be 0. So it proves on the basis of molecular orbital theory that He2 is not possible. The next is for Li2, lithium atomic number 3. Now I have 1s2, 2s1. So accordingly, sigma 1s, sigma antibonding 1s, and sigma 2s and sigma antibonding 2s orbitals MOs will also add here because we are moving from 1s to 2s now. So we all remember that whatever is the number of atomic orbitals, in total we can see 4 atomic orbitals, 2 for each lithium. So molecular orbitals will also be total in total 4. 4 molecular orbitals you can see, and in total you have 3 electrons this side and 3 electrons this side, 6 electrons. So keep filling in the increasing order of energy, 2 electrons, 2 electrons, 2 electrons. Magnetic behavior, can you predict? Yes, it has to be diamagnetic, no unpaired electron. And let me quickly calculate the bond order, that if under any conditions this molecule is formed, what will be the bond order? Bond order directly tells us about the number of bonds between two atoms. If bond order is 1, it is single bond. If bond order is 2, it is double bond. If bond order is 3, it is triple bond. And in some cases you will find, in case of ions, which I'll explain in the same presentation, that there is a bond order fractional also, 1.5, 2.5, like that. So 1.5 or 2.5 bonds are not possible, but that is a way of explaining that if you take out one electron or add 1 or 2 electrons to a molecule, how is it affecting the stability? So you can say bond order is directly related to the stability of the molecule. Now bond order would be, I can see 2 electrons here in the bonding MO and 2 here in the bonding. These both are bonding. So I will write 4 in the bonding minus how many in the anti-bonding? 2 in sigma 1s star steric divided by 2. So it will be 4 minus 2, that is 2 by 2, 1. So if lithium and lithium are going to make a bond, it has to be a single bond and the molecule has to be diamagnetic in nature. There is no unpaired electron in the MOs. And if you have to write the configuration of the molecule, then you will write it simply as you fill the orbitals. First of all, you filled sigma 1s, and in s orbital 2 electrons can be filled. So sigma 1s2. Then you have sigma anti-bonding 1s2. And then you have, I'm writing only for the molecule using MOs. And then you have sigma 2s. It is also having 2 electrons. You don't need to write sigma antibonding 2s here because that is empty. So if it is empty, I only need to show these which are filled. This is the configuration of the molecule using the MOs, molecular orbitals. Now you have to be very careful. Read the questions carefully. In some of the questions, they just ask you to predict the bond order, or they ask you to write the configuration. Then you don't need to draw the MO diagram. If it is specified in the question, draw MO diagram and then you calculate bond order and predict the magnetic behavior, only then you draw. Otherwise, if the question is carrying less marks, you don't need to draw the MO diagram every time. I'm removing all these annotations deliberately so that here itself we can try for PE2. By that time you can start trying it. I'll tell you very quickly because my MO diagram is here in front of me. I just have to make a few changes here. So now we are doing it for Be2. Beryllium has 1s2, 2s2 configuration. So first of all, I have to, for Be2, I am discussing now, we have to make it 2s2 here. I'll increase one electron here. You please make it separately. Same way, one electron here, and I'm making this also 2s2. Now you have two electrons extra, so two electrons will come in the sigma anti-bonding 2s also. So this is for Be2, and when I calculate the bond order, it has to be 4 minus 4 by 2, that is 0 bond order. So that proves that Be2 is not possible. It will not be formed. And if I write just the configuration, I have to add sigma anti-bonding 2s2 here. That's all about the MO diagram and predictions of magnetic behavior, which is diamagnetic. You can't see any unpaired electron here, and the bond order is 0. So this is all about the Be2 molecule. Okay, let's draw the MO diagram for B2 molecule now. We have already drawn the MO diagrams for H2, He2, Li2 and Be2. Now it's boron, B2 molecule. So here the order, increasing energy order, as you can see, is like this: 1s, 2s, then 2p. And same way for the MOs, it has been shown here. Bonding 1s, sigma 1s, sigma anti-bonding 1s, sigma 2s, and sigma anti-bonding 2s. Now this is new. 2p we are using for the first time in boron. It starts from boron because it has 5 electrons in it. So here when you show 2p, as we discussed in the beginning of the presentation also, that pz will be the molecular axis. That's why sigma 2pz will be designated. And for pi, 2px and 2py will be designated like this. Now these pi, they are having same energy. That's why two boxes, two orbitals are shown like this at the same energy level. Sigma has higher energy than that for these molecules, which we are discussing now. And same way, the order for anti-bonding, first two pi orbitals and then the sigma anti-bonding orbital. Now let us fill the electrons in them. For boron, the configuration is 1s2, 2s2, 2p1, because the atomic number is 5. These three 2p are degenerate orbitals, same energy orbitals. So you can show the electron in any of the orbitals, the one electron which is available. And same way you fill here for the 2s and 1s of the other boron atom. Now let us start filling these electrons in the molecular orbitals here. In the MOs, we have sigma 1s first. So I have 4 electrons in total in 1s. So 2 here and 2 here. This is complete. Same way, you have 4 electrons in total in the both the 2s of atoms, boron atoms. So you will show the 2 electrons here. Now the remaining 2p, there are 2 electrons in 2p, one here and one here. So according to Hund's rule, if the degenerate energy orbitals are there, they have to be filled singly first. So I'll show one electron each here. This is the diagram for B2, MO diagram. Now you can see two unpaired electrons here. So that's why the nature will be paramagnetic. The magnetic nature of the B2 molecule is going to be paramagnetic. Even if there is a single unpaired electron in the MO, it shows the paramagnetic behavior. And as the number of unpaired electrons keep on increasing in MOs, more is the strength of that magnetic behavior for that particular molecule. So this is paramagnetic, we can predict. What else can we find out from here? Bond order. Now here the bond order is going to be number of electrons in the bonding orbitals. So we have 2 here in the bonding, 2 here in the bonding, and 2 here. Total 6. So I'll write 6 in the bonding minus how many in the anti-bonding? We have 2 here in the anti-bonding and 2 here. That's it. So it will be 6 minus 4 divided by 2. So it's going to be 6 minus 4, 2. 2 by 2 is 1. Bond order will be 1 if B2 is formed, and the magnetic behavior would be paramagnetic. For C2, 2 carbons if they join. Now it's easy. You have 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. Carbon has 6 atomic number. So here also for the other carbon, in the same way, we will fill the AOs, atomic orbitals. We have to show first that they are combining to give rise to molecular orbitals. So you have to show electrons in AOs. That I have done. The boxes which are white, they are showing AOs, atomic orbital, and the blue ones are MOs, molecular orbital. Okay. Now I have to fill the electrons here. Sigma 1s, 2 electrons, because we have 4 electrons here, so 2 will come in the each molecular orbital of 1s. Same way you have 4 here, so 2 will come here and 2 will go in the anti-bonding of 2s. And now I have 4 electrons in 2p in total for both the atoms. So the lower energy level is filled first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you will see the nature has changed. If you compare it with B2, the nature has changed from paramagnetic to diamagnetic, because here all the electrons in MOs are paired. There is not a single electron which is unpaired, so it is diamagnetic in nature. And if I calculate bond order, apply the formula, number of electrons in bonding MOs, I can see 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 in the bonding MOs. I hope you can count in the anti-bonding now. They are 4 divided by 2. So it becomes 4 by 2, that is 2. So if the C2 is formed under any conditions, it has to be a molecule with a double bond between 2 carbons. Don't compare it directly with the other carbon compounds, because carbon makes 4 bonds. This is the explanation on the basis of MOT, that if such a molecule is ever formed, what will be the nature as far as the magnetic behavior is concerned, and what will be the bond order. So bond order is going to be 2. And something very interesting and peculiar about this molecule is that you don't have any electron in the sigma here. Double bond is formed, but all the electrons of P, they are in the pi MOs. So this is the only molecule. Practically, it is not possible that without sigma pi bond is formed, but this is the only molecule which is explained on the basis of MOT like this, which can have a double bond, and both will be pi bonds. Why? Because we are filling the electrons in the pi orbitals according to MO diagram. Now we are going to make MO diagram for nitrogen, and once we finish that, we will be discussing ions here, right? N2 plus, N2 minus, and we'll compare the bond order strength with the N2 neutral molecule. So first of all, we have to fill the electrons in the atomic orbitals of each nitrogen. 1s2, 2s2, 2p3. For nitrogen, the configuration is quite stable because it is half filled 2p. There are 3 electrons in the 2p orbitals. So once we write the atomic orbital configuration, fill the electrons in AOs, then we start filling the electrons in MOs. So you have 4 electrons here in both 1s together. So 2 will come in bonding MO and 2 will go in the anti-bonding MO. Simple. Same way for 2s, 2 here and 2 in the NT bonding. Now I have 3 electrons here and 3 electrons here, total 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the complete MO diagram of N2 neutral molecule. N2 we are discussing first of all. And we all know that the nitrogen molecule has a triple bond between two nitrogen atoms. So let us confirm it by calculation of bond order. So bond order is number of electrons in bonding orbitals. I can see 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, 10. 10 electrons here. So it will be 10 minus, how many are in the NT bonding? 2 plus 2, 4. So 10 minus 4 is 6 divided by according to the formula. So it comes out to be 3, which proves that there is a triple bond. And magnetic behavior, you will not find even a single unpaired electron in the MOs of nitrogen molecule. So it behaves as a diamagnetic one. Now something very interesting here. You have such questions in the NCERT exercise that suppose I give you N2 and ask you to compare it with N2 plus. N2 plus means every time you don't have to draw the diagram again and again. You will just consider the MO of N2, and if it is N2 plus means you have to remove one electron. N2 plus means it has lost one electron, and that has to be from the orbital with maximum energy. So in this case you have to see the electrons are filled till here, sigma 2pz. So I'll remove one electron from here. Only concentrate on MOs, molecular orbital. So if you remove one electron from nitrogen molecule, it becomes N2 plus. Now the nature has changed from diamagnetic to paramagnetic because there is one unpaired electron, and bond order will also change. If I calculate the bond order here, the number of electrons in bonding now change to 9 from 10. Minus number of electrons in anti-bonding are still 4 divided by 2. So it becomes 5 by 2, which is 2.5. Now 2.5 bond formation is not possible, and N2 plus is also not that stable. But if in any case it is formed, if you assume, then how will it be compared in terms of stability with the N2? You can see that in case of N2 neutral, bond order is 3, and here the bond order is 2.5. Why has it decreased? Because the electron has been removed from the bonding MO. If the electrons are added in bonding MO, the stability increases. If they are removed from bonding MO, the stability decreases. Same way, if electrons are removed from NP bonding molecular orbital, stability increases, and if electrons are added in NT bonding, the stability would definitely decrease. So if you compare these two, obviously the bond order of N2 is more, so N2 is more stable than N2 plus. Let us see N2 minus now. Let's take a different color. N2 minus I am concentrating on now. N2 minus means this was the MO diagram for N2. Minus means I have to add one electron. That one electron will be added in the next orbital which is available. So in pi 2px or pi 2py anti-bonding, anywhere you can show one electron. If you are talking about N2 minus, that means the nitrogen molecule is gaining one electron from somewhere. Now the electron has been added to anti-bonding, so it will definitely affect the bond order. Let us see how it's going to affect. So it's going to be for N2 minus, bond order will be number of electrons in bonding MO, they will remain the same, 10, but number of electrons in anti-bonding increased by 1. 4 were already there and 1 we have added, so 10 minus 5, again 5 by 2, that is 2.5. So the bond order of N2 plus and N2 minus is exactly same. That means they have same stability, but N2 neutral would be more stable than both of them. And here also, if one electron is added, it is also paramagnetic in nature because it is unpaired electron. Now, when we draw the MO diagram for molecules after nitrogen, after N2, you will notice a change in the order of bonding MOs, energy order. The earlier cases were having the sigma 2pz above these two degenerate pi orbitals. As expected, as we all know that sigma is more stable than pi, so this should be the arrangement for bonding orbitals in every case, that sigma should be at lower energy level like here, and pi should be at higher energy level. But till here, before oxygen, it was just the opposite, because nitrogen, till there, a concept called SP mixing, which is not explained in NCERT. So this is extra information that I'm giving you as far as your CBSE syllabus is concerned, that there is something called SP mixing. If the energies of S and P orbitals are very close, nearby, there is not much difference in the energies, which is applicable till nitrogen, then there is mixing of their energies. You can imagine it like this, that the sigma s wave function mathematically combines with the sigma p wave function, and the result is that sigma s becomes more stable and sigma p becomes less stable because of that sp mixing. The same thing happens in anti-bonding also and bonding also, and that's why you have, because of sp mixing, that order where the sigma bonding was at higher energy level and the pi orbitals were at the lower energy level, opposite to what is expected. But when you move beyond nitrogen, the sp mixing does not apply there, because the number of electrons are increasing, repulsions are increasing in 2p. Because of that, the energy of 2p, the p orbital's energy, is not very close to the energy of s orbital, so sp mixing is not possible. So you have to now use this order. Now I'll simply remove these marks so that we can draw the MO diagram, and in the end, when I discuss the MO diagram of oxygen molecule, again we are going to discuss O2 plus, O2 minus with one negative sign, and O22 minus with two negative signs, and we'll compare their magnetic behavior as well as bond order. Now, I have to write the configuration of atomic orbital. So oxygen has 1s2, 2s2 and 2p4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons I have shown. Same way here, 1, 2, 3 and 4 electrons I have shown here. Now let us fill the electrons in the 1s and 2s of the other oxygen atom also first, here and here. And after doing this, I am going to show you the filling of electrons in the MOs. So this is same as we have done so many times. Now we know how to fill. Sigma 1s2, sigma anti-bonding 1s2, sigma 2s2, sigma anti-bonding 2s2, and you have 4 here and 4 here, 8 electrons available in 2p. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. I can see two unpaired electrons, so O2 becomes paramagnetic in nature, and this is how you write down the configuration. If you are not supposed to make MO diagram in a question, write the configuration like this: sigma 1s2, sigma anti-bonding 1s2, sigma 2s2. Here it should not be the steric, it is the bonding one, and sigma anti-bonding 2s2. Then sigma 2pz, two electrons, and there are two electrons in these pi orbitals, so there is a sign of equivalence that they are degenerate, and same way you have one electron each in the anti-bonding pi orbitals. Or for these s orbitals, sigma 1s and 2s. For sigma 1s specifically, you can write K for bonding and anti-bonding, and then you can resume filling the orbitals, molecular orbitals from here, or you can simply write it this way. So this is the configuration when I have to write in terms of molecular orbitals, and this is the MO diagram that we are discussing. So it's very clear that O2 is paramagnetic. It has two unpaired electrons, and I'm calculating the bond order of O2 now. So the bond order of O2 would be number of electrons in bonding, 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, 10. So I have 10 in the bonding minus in the anti-bonding I can see 2 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6. So 10 minus 6 is 4 divided by 2. So my answer is 2. And we all know that there is a double bond between two oxygen atoms in O2 molecule, which is proved from here also. Now let us see if I have to make it O2 plus. When I have to make it O2 plus, I'll remove one electron from any of these orbitals, maximum energy orbitals in the MO of this molecule, this ion O2 plus. So this is the structure for O2 plus. I have removed an electron from here. The magnetic behavior remains the same, paramagnetic. There is still one unpaired electron, and the bond order. Let us see what is the difference in the bond order for O2 plus now. This is for O2 plus. In case of O2 plus, it's going to be number of electrons in bonding will remain the same, 10. I have removed one electron from the anti-bonding, so it becomes 10 minus 5. 5 by 2 is 2.5. The bond order of O2 plus has increased. I told you if the electron is removed from anti-bonding, it's going to make it more stable. So you can say that O2 plus is more stable than O2. Now let us see O2 with a single negative charge, and I have two negative charges. Before that, I have to show this. This is the original MO diagram for O2. If you are asked to compare the ions and molecule, you are not supposed to make MO diagram so many times. Make it once and then show the changes, maybe in terms of configuration, that here the change will take place, and accordingly explain the bond order and magnetic behavior. So O2 minus means I have to add one electron, so I can add it here or with this, anyone, they have same energy. Now the number of electrons in anti-bonding increased, and the paramagnetic behavior is still retained. There is one unpaired electron. So let us calculate for O2 minus. It will be number of electrons in the bonding orbital, 2 plus 2 plus 6, 10. It remains the same because every change is taking place here. So 10 will remain the same. Now in anti-bonding, we have 2 plus 2 plus 3, 7. 4 plus 3, 7. So in place of 5 now, I'll write 7. 10 minus 7 divided by 2, that is 1.5. So for O2 minus, it is 1.5. Then I have to add one more electron if I am explaining O2 2 minus. So that electron will come here, and the bond order is going to change accordingly. So it will be 10 minus, one more electron has increased. So we have 10 in the bonding, and in anti-bonding we have 8. So 10 minus 8 will be 2 by 2, that is 1. So here the bond order for this is 1. Now you can see if you are adding the electrons in anti-bonding MOs, the bond order is decreasing. That means the stability is decreasing. And when you are removing, in the beginning I explained O2 plus. Here I explained O2 plus first of all, where the bond order came out to be 2.5. So that means if you write the stability order, O2 plus is most stable in terms of bond order only. And then you have O2, which has bond order 2. Then you have O2 minus, bond order 1.5, and the least stable will be O2 minus with bond order only 1. This is the order of stability. And magnetic behavior in case of O2 minus, it is diamagnetic. Apart from that, everything else was having paramagnetic because we had unpaired electrons in them. This is all about the O2 molecule and its respective ions. Now you have F2. I hope everyone can do it now. I'll quickly do it. Here also you can, compare F2 plus F2 minus in the same way. I have explained in detail about the ions in the previous cases, two cases of nitrogen and oxygen molecule. So in fluorine you have 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 5. Same way here, 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 5. And now you fill the electrons in MOs. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 from 2s. And here I have 10. 5 here and 5 here. Total 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I cannot see any unpaired electron in the molecular orbital, so it is diamagnetic, and the bond order has to be number of electrons in the bonding 2 plus 2 4 plus 6 10. 10 minus in the anti-bonding 2 plus 2 4 plus 4 8. 10 minus 8, exactly like O2 minus divided by 2. So it has to be bond order 1. Single bond would be there if F2 is formed. And the last is Ne2. Bond order has to be 0 because Ne2 is not possible. It's a noble gas. So we may get a question like prove using MOT that Ne2 molecule cannot be formed. So we will just draw the MO diagram and find out the bond order is 0. So let me do it for you. 1s2, 2s2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is 2p, 6. Now everything is filled. So all the MOs will also be filled completely. And that's how the bond order is going to be 0. And magnetic behavior going to be diamagnetic because no unpaired electron would be there. You have 12 electrons here, so 6 in the bonding, 6 in the anti-bonding, and bond order would be number of electrons in bonding total right from the beginning. 2 plus 2 plus 6, 10, and same way 10 in the anti-bonding. So it becomes 10 minus 10 divided by 2. That is 0. So Ne2 does not exist. Now we have hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding, H bonding, a very important concept. It is the bond, not exactly the proper bond like covalent or ionic bond, but it is a way of explaining that whenever you have very highly electronegative atoms like nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine, or any one of them or any two of them in a particular molecule, they are very highly electronegative. And if they are attached to hydrogen, like in HF, fluorine is attached to hydrogen. So if such two molecules come closer, they have a particular type of attraction between them. This is called H bonding. Why is this attraction? Because you can see a dipole is generated. In HF, the electron pair will be shifted towards fluorine. There is polarity. Dipole moment will be there. So H will be having slightly positive charge, delta positive. Fluorine will be having delta negative. Same way here. So the polarity gives rise to this attraction. And here the F with the slight negative charge of one HF molecule will be attracted to the H of another molecule. So this is not a proper bond, but this attraction is there, which is called hydrogen bonding. And this partially positively charged hydrogen atom, it forms a bond with the other more electronegative atom. This is hydrogen bond, if you want to write the definition, and it is weaker than the covalent bond. Obviously, it is not a proper bond formation. It is just attraction between two charges between the atoms which belong to different molecules. But if you compare it with the van der Waals force of attraction, which is everywhere between the nucleus of one and the electron of the other atom, this is obviously much stronger than that. This is called H bonding, and it is of two types. The types are intermolecular, between two molecules, like you just saw the example of HF. Same way, you can show the example of water molecule also. In H2O, there is polarity. You have delta positive, delta negative. So hydrogen of one water molecule, you can show it like this also, or the dash vertically, horizontally also, and it will be attracted towards the oxygen of other water molecules. So this is also intermolecular, between different molecules. Intermolecular is this. Same way you can show between ammonia molecules or ammonia with water molecule. The condition is nitrogen, oxygen or fluorine should be there attached to hydrogen directly. And the other is intramolecular. In intramolecular, it is within the same molecule. Intermolecular was between two different molecules of same or different compounds. Same compounds HF, H2O, H2O, or I just told you, you can show between ammonia and water. When they mix with each other, they are making this type of bond, ammonia and water. So that you can show. All these are coming under intermolecular. Within the same molecule, here is an example. Benzene, it's having NO2, and on the next carbon, immediately next carbon, it has OH. If these two are so close, NO2 and OH, only then this H bonding is possible. If the OH is far away, suppose it is here, exactly opposite position or any other position except the adjacent one, it's not going to give a stable structure, so that bonding will not be possible. In that case, it will be with the other molecule of its own kind, intermolecular. Intra is possible only if there are these attachments on the adjacent carbon, so that when they join, they are making another ring kind of thing, which is giving it stability. So this attraction, because they are coming closer, this attraction is called intramolecular H bonding. This compound is a derivative of benzene, nitrophenol. You will study about these compounds later, that what is this. This is for ortho. Ortho means when the attachment is on the adjacent carbon of benzene. So this is intramolecular, and that other examples which I discussed before this, they were intermolecular. Here are a few questions. Actually, I have covered most of them. Let's see them quickly. Use MO theory to explain why B2 molecule does not exist. So you will draw the MO diagram. Here in the question, it's not written draw. You can simply write the configuration and calculate the bond order. That will come out to be 0. So it proves that B2 molecule does not exist. Compare the relative stability of the following and indicate the magnetic properties also. So when I was explaining O2, in that slide, I have taken all these 4 species. So you can easily do it. Just remember, if it is written in the question, draw MO diagram, draw it once for the basic O2 neutral molecule and then show the difference from the other ones just by showing the configuration. Write the significance of a plus and minus sign shown in the representation of orbitals. So these simple questions from the exercise, they are quite interesting and they check your knowledge that you have done the chapter thoroughly or not. So when I was explaining you, I told you these plus and minus signs are not charges, they are having directional value. So they are telling you the orientation of the orbital. Describe the hybridization in case of PCl5. We have done it. It is sp3d, and I explained in my previous presentation where I discussed hybridization that the axial bonds are longer as compared to equatorial bonds, because when you have PCl5 trigonal bipyramidal, so these two axial bonds which are on the axis above and below, they are at 90 degree from three equatorial bonds which are in a plane. So they face more repulsion. Because of that, they become longer and weaker. Define hydrogen bond. We just discussed it in the previous slide. Is it weaker or stronger than the van der Waals? It is stronger than van der Waals because van der Waals is everywhere. Any atom coming in vicinity of the other atom will be, the nucleus of one will be attracting the electrons of the other, but it is weaker than a covalent bond. Now, what is meant by the term bond order? Bond order gives us direct idea that how many bonds are present between two atoms, and it is directly related to the strength of the bond, but inversely related to the length of the bond. More the bond order, less is the bond length. Like triple bond is shorter, double bond is longer than that, and single is the longest out of these three. And calculate the bond order of N2, O2, O2 plus and O2 minus. So we have done all of them. I covered all these in my presentation. So I have discussed maximum questions of the exercise and all the concepts. I hope it will help you and you'll be able to do well wherever these questions are asked. That's all about the chapter. This was the last concluding presentation. Thank you very much.